Swinging a high drive into center field. Hits at the wall. It is gone! Casas does it again. It's gone! It's into the bullpen! This game is tied! This game is tied!
He swings and rips one to center field. It's high, it's deep, it's back, it's gone! Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over! The Red Sox have won the World Championship!
Welcome back to Play Tessie. It is episode 117. If you're listening on drop day, it is August 20th. I got that right. Yeah, I got that right. This is the official podcast of the Yohan Ramirez fan club, recording saves for your Worcester Red Sox. And also he's just number one in your heart. Also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEI. Before we get going, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. All your podcast platforms, subscribe. Rate us 5 stars. We really appreciate it when you guys do that. Subscribe on all the platforms. You can also check us out on YouTube, on the WEI page, Play Tessie playlist. You can hit the thumbs up there, and then as always, go back and subscribe somewhere else where you get your podcasts. We are at Play Tessie on all of the socials. Here with Sammy, here with Joe. By God, I love fitting Yohan Ramirez into the intro because you guys can't say anything. I free reign to give love to Yohan Ramirez, the most deserving man in this organization for love. Love Yohan Ramirez. He recorded a 2 strikeout save the same night as Kenley Jansen recorded a 2 strikeout save. So that means that Yohan Ramirez is as good at baseball as Kenley Jansen.
Why don't you give us his full line that game? How do you do overall?
That game, he went inning, no hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts. He did hit a guy, but that's just part of the Yohan experience. He brings the pain.
Didn't he get another save? You texted us the other day. You're like, Yohan got a save. And I looked it up. He gave up like 2 runs in an inning, but technically got the save. I was like, get out of here.
He came in the 8th. He came in the 8th in a 3-run lead, and he went 2 innings, 2 runs, got the save. So he got the save. Don't look at the box score.
You're kind of making me come around on Yohan. Like, your love for him is so unjustified and insane that I'm kind of behind it at this point. I support it. It makes no sense, but that's what I like about it.
I need to meet that guy. We need that guy to be in this organization next year, for sure. If we see him in spring training, I don't know if he speaks English. We need to figure that out. I don't even care. It's
Learn
like
Spanish.
we'll just like have like we don't. No, it's just like we'll have that unspoken bond where it's just like you just feel it.
You're just like, baseball. He's like, yeah.
I'm like,
cool.
You're in my heart, and he'll just be like, yeah, I am.
You're gonna make a sign like the Dom Smith fan did.
It'll say "Lo mejor."
Would you take one at bat against Johan? Would you stand in there in the box?
No, never again. No. He might him and Greg Soto might be the 2 guys I would least want to take an at bat against.
Oh yeah, no thanks.
Yeah,
thanks.
like the hit by pitch probabilities is too high. But topic for this one, Cooper Criswell it's weird. It feels like he's been in the rotation for a while because it feels like Paxton went down so long ago, but because it was like he had the COVID thing and we had to maneuver that game against Houston with like Wink and Keller. He only has had 1 start, quote unquote start. He came in the 2nd inning, but he went 3 1/3, 9 hits, 4 walks, 6 earned runs. It was his first start coming off of COVID, but we talk about where the Red Sox are in the season, getting into the nitty gritty of this thing. About a month and a half to go, under 40 games at this point, and you really have no time to waste. If Cooper Criswell, he does deserve at least another couple of starts, I would think at least. But if he keeps not getting it done, it felt like when Paxton went down, it felt like kind of all the eggs were in the Cooper Criswell basket. But because of the way that some of the guys in AAA have been pitching, plus the signing of Rich Hill, they actually have more options than we think. None of them are like slam dunk. Like this is like our top dog, our top prospect. He's pitching great. Like call him up, but they do have options.
I don't know. Do you really want to like use that bullet at this point? It's just kind of like
one.
I'm thinking mostly like Preister when we're talking calling guys up. Because, like,
okay.
You said,
for reference here, there's 3 options. Quinn Preister, who was just acquired for Nick York, who I do have the numbers on Preister. So his first 2 starts in Worcester were disastrous. But his last start, which he is currently lined up on the same day as Cooper Criswell, they threw on the same day. He threw 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks. It was really quick. They took him out. I think he had 42 pitches through 5 innings. He only had 1 strikeout, but his velocity was considerably up. It's going to be a focus for him. I know he was acquired to be a project. He was not acquired to be depth down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to throw him into like a legitimate playoff hunt where it's not a team that's, oh, we want to win the division, we don't want to take the wild card. They're fighting for their lives, the Boston Red Sox. So I don't know if that's a lot to put on this kid. And then Richard Fitz, I just don't think is that great. I think he's kind of a depth starting pitcher at the major league level when he's ready. So I don't know if that's the answer either. Who is your third option that you proposed?
The third was Rich Hill. They just signed Rich Hill. He threw a bullpen to Kyle Teal on Sunday. He's been throwing bullpens, and they don't think he's going to need that much time to get ready to throw big league games. But as of course, he hasn't thrown big league games this year. He didn't have a spring training. So obviously Rich Hill doesn't sign if he doesn't think there's a legitimate path to make the big league club. So it leads me to believe that eventually he's going to get that chance. But obviously, considering he hasn't thrown, there's going to be skepticism for the 44-year-old.
I think the thing you have to figure is that there's still yes, the Sox are in the midst of this playoff chase, and they're, as Sammy said, fighting for their lives, scratching and clawing with every single game. With that said, you do got to realize there's a lot of years in the future. There's still a big picture that you have to look at. And one of those blocks you put in that big picture was getting Quinn Preister. So I'm sort of on Sammy's line where I don't want to see Preister thrown into the mix this early. He still needs a lot more time to get adjusted. Fitz is probably closer than Preister, but I still don't want to take the chance with him either. Just because he's not, I want to see him in non-high leverage spots. And when I mean that, I just mean better to see him maybe at the beginning of the year or the middle of the year rather than this extremely tight playoff chase where every game counts.
Yeah, so he's the guy
Rich Hill would be the guy for me, just for the experience and for the depth.
Yeah, Rich Hill is battle tested. I know he's coming off the couch and he's 44 years old, but your options, we just went through all 3 of them. They're not fantastic. I think you got to go with the guy who is as veteran as humanly possible, and he expects to pitch in the major league this year and ASAP. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. And that's not me saying it's a foolproof plan. It's certainly not, but I just don't want to throw these kids who are, as Joe just said, they're part of the future. Rich Hill, this is a right here, right now. He's at the end of his career. I don't want to say this is probably his last season because it's Rich Hill. He could pitch until he's 57 years old. It wouldn't shock me. But that's why he was brought in. I think he's definitely the move.
I think he's definitely the most obvious guy to call up. It's just a matter of when's he going to be ready. And also, it's so much of it depends on how urgent Cooper Criswell makes the matter. If Cooper Criswell has a good start against Houston, we went over it. He's going to likely pitch that 3rd game. If he has a good start, then this is kind of a non-conversation because you're not going to rush Quinn Preister or Richard Fitz up if Cooper Criswell is pitching well. You'll wait it out and let him keep throwing. And if he doesn't throw well and Rich Hill's ready, then you go that route. But the reason we're having this conversation is because Craig Breslow told the media on Sunday that Fitz and Preister would be considered. And I think part of the reason I'll go over, I already went over the Preister numbers and the reason they're so encouraged there. With Richard Fitz, with him, it's all about velocity. Early in the season, he had built up his velocity and it was sticking, but in June and July, it kind of didn't. So ERA by month, he had a 3.86 in April, a 3.52 in May. Then it jumped up to a 5.19 in June, and it really jumped to a 7.94 in July. But in 3 August starts, he's got a 2.12. So he is coming off of his best stretch of the season. I don't know. I don't know how many starts it's going to take me to feel the pressure with Criswell, because I feel like I would by default give him 2 more starts. And I think if you give him 2 more starts, you already right there have bought enough time to just go right to Rich Hill.
I don't even know if you give him traditional starts. I kind of like with Criswell. I kind of like the opener if it makes sense. So Houston, I would just start him straight up. Most of their big bats, other than Jordan, are right-handed. But with the Orioles, when you've got friggin' Cowser, Gunnar, Santander coming up in the first inning, I don't mind having Criswell start in the second. You get the lefty Bernardino out there. I know Zach Kelly also contributed in that one, but the concept was Bernardino to get the lefties out, and then you go to Criswell. I don't mind that with him. I know he's not like people are going to hate that. Everyone hates the opener just because it's not traditional, but like I feel like it's not something that fails all the time. It's fairly successful, I'd even venture to say. So yeah, with Criswell, if it makes sense, I'm cool doing the opener route with him. And you could even, when Rich Hill is ready, you could even piggyback those two, kind of like how, who are they doing that with early?
It was Rich Hill and Whitlock. Oh, I thought you were talking about.
No, wasn't it Houck? It was like Houck and Criswell, or like Whitlock and Criswell. I think it was Houck because Houck was the fifth starter.
Criswell wasn't. I don't know if they piggybacked at all really this year.
I think there was a point where started it with Cutter. I feel like they started it maybe with Cutter.
He was piggybacking someone consistently at one point in the season where it was, I can't remember who it was. It might have been
Criswell was in the minors, and then he got called up to start when he was needed to start.
Oh, I'm thinking of Chase Anderson. Chase Anderson would pitch after Houck for like the first 2 months of the season because Houck was not even supposed to be in the rotation.
Are you sure about that? Chase Anderson was always the mop up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he'd come in regardless. It would be like if they're ahead. If it was close, he wouldn't come in. But if it were like a blowout or anything, it was pretty much every fifth day. I'll look it up. I'm pretty confident with this
because Houck was going deep, like right at the start. Like Houck wasn't like a guy who was going 4 innings and then needed a piggyback.
Yeah, maybe it was
anyone in the rotation was doing that.
There was someone who was always followed by Chase Anderson. I remember being like, "Oh, Chase Anderson," because so and so was pitching.
That could have been just like by chance, though. Like maybe they were just like ahead by a lot or behind by a lot in those games.
Maybe, but the concept, I don't mind the concept if you use that concept of consistently piggybacking the same two guys, especially when they're one's a lefty and one's a righty. So if you want to start Rich Hill and then come in with Criswell for a game and reset the bullpen, maybe you don't have the greatest chance to win that game, but when you're running on fumes, kind of have to take those chances and hope they perform. So I like
the opener.
Worst
I like
idea.
the opener.
It's not great, but
it's tough because if you piggyback, you kind of sacrifice the Chase Anderson role because you're committing that bulk role to that game. But for like, if you want to talk openers, I mean, so Criswell's going to face the Astros. We don't love the opener there. And then the next, it looks like he'll face the Blue Jays. And by the way, one thing that we actually haven't taken into account yet, they've got a doubleheader against Toronto coming up. Like they actually might need one of these guys to make a start. They actually might need someone to come up and start.
My God, that's right. They have isn't it a 5-game series or something?
It is. And
it's a full game too. It was suspended in like the second inning.
Yeah. Okay. So the way it's going to work is they have the Astros series, and then there's an off day, but then it goes Arizona for 3, and then straight into the doubleheader against Toronto, and they don't even have off days after that. Their next off day after that Toronto doubleheader is 10 days down the line. So, they actually, we're talking about, they might call up Fitz or Preister to make a start there. That might be why Breslow was so willing to say that.
By the way, yeah, it was Chase Anderson. It just wasn't for as long as I thought. The first 3 outings of his season were all following Tanner Houck. Just like sounds crazy to think of now in August, but that's how they were using Anderson. Because like when you think back to the beginning of the season, we thought Houck was a reliever, so wasn't crazy at the time. It sounds crazy now, but yeah, that Chase Anderson was the piggyback off of Tanner Houck to start the season.
I don't buy that, Sammy. He was not piggybacking Houck.
I'm looking at it right now. First three outings.
It was probably just because they were like winning by a lot. Like, what was the score of those games?
Let me see when he came in. Yeah, it looks like
they won.
Yeah, you're right. They were winning by a lot in those games. Let's see the other one. This one. Yeah,
9-0. 9-0 the first game. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 12-2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 7-2.
Yeah, so maybe it was a coincidence. Wow, look at this. His 5th appearance of the season was against the Pirates in a game started by Quinn Preister.
Tristan Casas took Preister deep. But yeah, some interesting decisions to be made on the rotation. And damn, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together there until just now with that doubleheader. Like either Like they're going to get the 27th man for that game or for that day. And it's going to have to be a bulk guy from AAA. Like in theory, you could call up another reliever. Like if you wanted to call up, I don't know, like Greg Weissert for a day, you could call. Oh no, you can't. Johan's not on the 40 man. Ugh, damn.
Get out of here with Johan. Yeah, Weissert or like
Campbell.
Keller is back, I believe.
Keller, but you'd have to another one. You'd have to
he's
add
not
to
on
the 40 man.
Yeah.
No,
Dang.
his velocity's up a bunch. So like, I don't know.
He not bad. His last
that actually might be
was
the
not
answer.
bad. Yeah,
that might be it.
Keller, you're talking?
Yeah, the Keller, and then try to option him again, and maybe because he's one of those guys who has the right to reject the option because he's a vet, and that's what happened. This was Chris Hatfield reported this of Sox prospects, but the Red Sox tried to option him after he was the bulk guy against the Astros. He rejected the option to try to find a big league deal with another team. No team offered him a big league deal, so then he just went back to the Red Sox and signed a minor league deal. So he's no longer on the 40 man. If he comes up and throws well against the Blue Jays, then like maybe a team changes their mind and decides they want him on the 40 man. But unless he throws really well, I don't know why like a week and a half would change things.
Wait, so if you're not on for the extra guy, what are the rules with that? You got to be on the 40, I assume, or no?
Yes, for like the COVID stuff back like in 2021 and 2020, like if guys were on the COVID IL, you wouldn't need like you could like literally just call a guy up who wasn't on the 40. For a doubleheader, it's got to be a guy on the 40, but you get an extra. It's like a 27 man roster.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I thought. That's thank God they have that rule.
This will be, yeah. Oh my God, they need it so badly. I don't know what the Blue Jays pitching situation is. I know they kind of half gutted their team.
I think Bassett is like falling apart. I hope the Red Sox
kind of
face him. So that's what we were talking about. Oh my God, can you imagine if the Red Sox got Bassett?
Oh.
This shit is so unpredictable, man. It's impossible. Pitching well all year long. He's had a great career and just falls off a cliff.
Luis Garcia. I mean, we're watching it firsthand with Luis Garcia, like a guy who threw the ball well, has thrown the ball well for years. Like
has had a good career, is having a good season, was having the best point of his season when you acquired him, and is just a puddle on the Red Sox.
Shall we get into some nuff said before we get on out of here?
I think we shall get into some nuff said.
Anyone want to go first? I have two things I could go to, but I'll give you guys a chance first.
I'll lead off. So the Orioles, a few things. Baltimore Orioles, really good team. The Red Sox just played them 2 days ago, as you're listening. In fact, great team, amazing ballpark. I haven't been, but I've never heard a single person not give a glowing review about Camden Yards. We were just on with Bradfo the other day. He couldn't stop talking about it. He loves Camden Yards. Where the fuck are the fans? I was so disappointed. What the heck was that? The Corbin Burns start. That was a Friday night against a division rival, a popular team, the Boston Red Sox. Say what you want about them. Huge brand. You're playing the Red Sox at home. Your ace is on the mound. It's bobblehead night. And they're like, yeah, we'll open up the upper deck. And like, there's nobody there. And that was their best-selling game of the series. Really, really, really surprised. I think Baltimore is a sports town. And I think the reason, and we spoke about this on radio, is when you suck, and I'm not talking about Red Sox 78 and 84. I'm talking about winning 60-something games. Really, really being one of the worst teams in the league. Like the Orioles were for about 5 years.
5 or 6 years.
You alienate a lot of fans. So I don't know if that's why. That's just a guess. But
no, that's gotta be.
Also empty.
Yeah.
Also in that time span, you have the Nationals who aren't that far away win a World Series. So you have those Orioles fans sort of gravitating to the Nats. And I know the Nats aren't as hot right now, but that time frame, like where you're not winning a World Series and the team that's the closest to you is, it would do that.
And Sammy, this is why I don't like the Orioles. I've been like rooting on their downfall. And I've had a lot of people ask me like, why do you hate the Orioles so much? Because I hate how they got good. They purposely sucked for not a year. I understand if you do it for a year. Yeah, we're going to rebuild year. Not 2 years. All right. 5 years. That is disgusting. So I don't want them to succeed. I want them to pay for their sins. I'm sorry to Orioles fans. Nothing against Orioles fans at all. It's the franchise. I think it's the most loser way to go about things, and they deserve nothing.
Well, that's the thing is like you can build a hell of a team down the line if you take that route, but you're seeing the other effects of it. I think the reason you're not seeing Orioles fans in that ballpark is absolutely because if you have nothing to root for 5 or 6 years, like so much about a person evolves in that amount of time. And if the Orioles are a last place team every year, like they're just not going to be a big part of your life. Like, yes, you can get them back if you're in first place for several years, but it's going to take a little bit more than a couple of superstars and a fight with the Yankees who have 2 good players for first place to build that fan base up. Like you're going to have to win like a couple of World Series, like at least get there a couple of times to build that back. Sammy, the one question I have for you on this, the low attendance, who do you blame for it? Like, I think I know the answer to this. Are you blaming ownership and management for tanking their team for 5 years and saying it's embarrassing on you guys because that's why no one's coming to your park? Or are you saying it's embarrassing for the fans that no one's showing up to watch Corbin Burns and to get a bobblehead and to watch your first place team take on the Red Sox?
I blame both, but if I had to pick which one deserves more blame, it's the ownership. They've completely shat on that fan base for so long. I mean, you remember Robert Andino on the Orioles?
I hate that guy. Get out of here with that.
I knew you were going to hate him. He had a big hit against the Red Sox. But anyway,
he had like 20 minutes against the Red Sox.
There was a funny meme going around right when the Orioles went from being a playoff team to their giant Big Dig-esque rebuild. They showed a picture of Robert Andino in his spring training photo one year, and he's smiling. He's really happy. And the next year, it's like, still happy. And then every year as it progresses, his spring training pic. There it is. How did you know that meme, you psychopath? Anyway, how did you pull that up, Gordo? That was insane. You knew what meme I was talking. Oh my god. Anyway,
well, let's keep this in mind.
Apply that to the fans.
Well, let's keep this in mind, Sammy, that there's new ownership in Baltimore. So I think you do have to put it on the fans because the Rubensteins have taken over for an ownership group that was nationally hated amongst the baseball world and even some of the fans. So I think you have to put more on the fans because this is a new ownership group that is actually investing. They actually went for a full-fledged buy-in at the trade deadline to show their fans, hey, we are committed to making a World Series team. This is the first place team. And no one showed up.
But Joe, the issue is like you can't just snap your fingers and make like a team a big part of your life. Like they have to earn it, and it's not just going to be like a new guy owning the team that's going to earn those fans back. It's got to be years and years of like, wow, I get enjoyment when I watch this team. I get enjoyment when I go to that park. I want to go more often. It's not the Rubensteins buy the team and all of a sudden I'm going to go to 15 games because they bought the team and traded for Corbin Burns.
But saying that you blame the ownership, you can't blame this new ownership.
No.
The owners push fans away.
Previous owners.
Yeah, they push the fans away. Is what I think Gordo's saying is they push the fans away for so long. Now the new ownership, their job now is to bring them back, and
that's the process.
Yeah. We just wanted to get that squared away. That it's
the
Rubensteins
are they good people.
We'll go to their house for Seder, Gordo. Let's go. It's a good moves by Rubenstein and his group, but like it's gonna take, as we saw this weekend, they're contending. Not only are they contending, they're like in the middle of it, and they have an exciting young team made up of clones, but still exciting and young. And it's just like B+ crowd. Like if the Red Sox,
they had some good playoff crowds last year, even though they lost.
For sure.
Like
they show up in the
crowd. When they show up and that's the Camden Yards is full, they're some of the best fans in baseball.
Joe, August. What days were the series? Mid-August at Fenway, the Red Sox are alternating first place, second place with the Yankees in the middle of a playoff hunt. Is there any chance that Fenway is anything short of sold out and rowdy as hell?
I don't see. Close.
Yeah, no shot. So, and I know Fenway's smaller, 37.6 thousand, whatever, 37,000 something people. I understand, but still, it'd be packed. The whole area would be buzzing. So I don't know. Maybe it's not fully the fans. Like I think it is the ownership pushing people away. But anyway, it's a fun discussion.
I've got another fun discussion. This will be my enough said.
Is it about Rubenstein?
Sammy, I'm gonna get you hot with this one.
Ooh.
I want to talk about yeah. I want to talk about the new proposed 6-inning pitcher rule that you called, I believe. What you said, it's in the Hall of Fame of bad ideas.
I said bad idea. I said first ballot bad idea Hall of Fame.
Okay, so for people who have not heard about this, Major League Baseball is discussing, and I don't know how serious these discussions are. It doesn't feel like it's super serious right now, but they are discussing the possibility of having a rule where starting pitchers must go 6 innings unless the pitcher hits 100 pitches, gives up 4 or more runs, or gets hurt, and they'd be required to have an IL stint. I want to give Sammy an open window here to tell me why this is in the Hall of Fame of bad ideas, and then I'll give you my take on it. Because I'm not pro the rule, but I think I might be the most pro on the rule that I've seen, and that's literally just me being not insanely anti the rule.
Okay, 3 questions then.
Yes.
First off, why 100? Second, who is asking for this? And third, how are you going to test this? And why, the injury thing to me is like a red flag. If you have a rule in there for injuries, like that should be implied. The fact that they're making that front and center is
that's because you're not going to have a pitcher who blows his elbow out after 20 pitches have to keep throwing pitches.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But that should be implied. The fact that they're like, and also if they get injured doing this obviously dangerous thing that teams have been trying to avoid, because guys throw 700 miles an hour now and it's more pressure on their elbow, and they grow up playing baseball and they don't play multiple sports, so they're throwing way more pitches overall in their lifetime, and that's why there's so many injuries. We know this might lead to injuries. So, okay, let's reframe it.
Yeah, give me the questions. Give me the questions.
2 questions then. It only had to answer 2.
Okay.
Why is it 100 pitches? I know that we always use that as a benchmark, but at the end of the day, it's kind of an arbitrary number. And 2, who is asking for this?
Let's go one at a time.
I can answer.
You answered your first question right there. You said it's the arbitrary benchmark number.
But why'd they pick it? Who's? It's not.
Why do we talk 100 pitches anyway? Like you're just asking the question of why do we already talk about? Oh, he's approaching 100 pitches. Oh, he just hit 100 pitches.
Okay, I'll tell you, because 100 is like, ooh, that's a lot of pitches. That's a little bit risky. Like that's your benchmark. What if it's 85, slightly less? Like, why is that? Like, it's just so.
I'd be open to less. But okay, let's go to.
Why would you be open to less?
I'd be open to like not like 85, but I'd be open to like 90, 95, something like that.
Why 95 instead of 100? Like they're all arbitrary.
Of course, it's arbitrary. Whatever number it is going to be arbitrary.
I need data. I need data. I need evidence telling me why this is good for the game, and which leads me to the second question: who the fuck wants this? Who is leaving?
Hold
on, Joe. How many people, Sammy, did you see bitch and moan when they announced that Bernardino was going to open for Criswell? People bitch and moan about the openers all the time. And the reason I'm not super anti this rule, okay, first of all, this is not me arguing for it because or maybe it is, but like I'm not super for it because it's regulating the game, and I think that that's a slippery slope. They've already started regulating the game with the pitch clock and the banning of the shift, and you can only do it so much before it gets too far. But all that said, and I'm gonna walk this tightrope here. If a guy is pitching well, aka he hasn't allowed 4 runs, if he has pitches to go before he has 100 pitches, and he's healthy, and he's a starting pitcher, he's not going to be coming out of the game. All this rule does is prevent like an opener or like a 3-inning guy. Otherwise, like the game is the same.
Okay, two things. 1, the reason that you would take a guy out in that situation is because that you have data and evidence backed by science, shout out to Rob, that would indicate the more pitches they throw, the higher risk they are for getting an injury. Second thing.
No, not necessarily. It could be higher risk of them falling apart. I don't think it's the injury. I think teams like we saw it with Cutter on Sunday. The Sox took him out at like 70-ish pitches.
You don't think pitch count? You don't think pitch count is related to injury at all?
No, I think it is related, but I don't think the Red Sox take Cutter out at 70 pitches because they think he's going to get hurt. They take him out because they see that his stuff goes down.
What if there is a situation where the guy is healthy, but he has an injury history? He's totally healthy now. He has an injury history. He doesn't normally go to 100 pitches, but this fucking rule is implemented.
Adapt or die, baby.
Okay, and here's my other That's crazy. Here's my second question. Evil Gordo. Just go out there and die. Second question. Give me an honest answer, both of you. Do you think this rule would lead to more injuries to pitchers?
I would say I can't say one way or the other, because I think one way that teams would adjust to this is they would have 6-man rotations at points. So I think that pitchers, like the way the Red Sox have been getting rest, quote unquote, for their pitchers is by trying to lengthen the bullpen and taking guys out earlier, 75, 80, 85 pitches. If they had this rule, the way that the Red Sox would be forced to do it is by implementing a 6-man rotation for certain points in the year, skipping starts, stuff like that. So
but
I don't know.
Why is that better? And also, the people who are complaining about openers and shit, I don't think they're not watching games because of that. I think they're just old people who don't like new stuff. Like we always see. I did this with a pitch clock. I was like, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm still going to watch. I actually like it now.
But Sammy, let me ask you a question. Let's take this. Let's take this year and use it as an example. The Red Sox have 5 guys in the rotation. You've got Bayo, Houck, Cutter, Pivetta, and then you've got the Criswell bullpen game. But let's replace that with a bullpen game. You're buying a ticket to a game, and you happen to get the bullpen game as your game. You're going to be disappointed going to the game that's the game you drew. And that sucks for fans.
But I'd be disappointed if I got
rule for the fans.
But wouldn't you be disappointed if you got the 6th starter as well? Oh, I got the 6th guy today. Crap. I want to see Tanner Houck, but I got Cooper Criswell. I just think it's not gonna make the game better. Also, we all talk about how great Alex Cora is. This takes so much of what makes him great out of his hands. Like he's gonna have to do way less mixing and matching. And I just think it's less strategy. It's not as exciting. I thought that the shift was more strategy, but that made the game boring. I don't think this makes the game boring, mixing and matching with pitchers. Now, if they
Sammy, can I cut you off right there? You literally right there with your reasoning, and I was going to say it at the end, but your reasoning right there of the fact that it removes so much strategy from the game is why, in the end, I'm still against the rule. I don't like that it takes the strategy out of the manager's hands. I think that's such a big. That was the same thing with the 3-batter rule. The 3-batter rule, I was okay sacrificing it for because it slowed the game down. It's not like this slows the game down, and it's such a rare circumstance. I like having as much strategy in baseball as possible. That's what makes baseball so much different than other sports. Is like you can watch the strategies unfolding as the game happens. Whereas other sports, it's like, yeah, there's tons of strategy that goes into it, but you can't really see it with the naked eye like you can in baseball.
Mm-hmm. I also, with the banning the shift was getting so advanced that it was changing the game in a extremely negative way, in my opinion. The 3 true outcomes where everyone is striking out 200 friggin' times, home run, walk, strikeout is the only thing you were seeing. Something had to be done. I don't think that there's like an epidemic of openers right now. You see it here and there, but the vast majority of starts is with a regular starting pitcher. And I don't care if they're only going 5 innings. Sure, I would like, as a Red Sox fan, I want Brian Bayo to throw a friggin' complete game shutout on 90 pitches. That'd be fantastic. But I'm just as happy if he goes 5 innings and then Cora mixes and matches like a friggin' pro with the bullpen. That's entertaining to me. I don't think it's taking away from the game at all. And the vocal minority of people who hate openers, I don't think that's enough reason to, in my opinion, put pitchers at risk and change the game in just a weird way and like an arbitrary, strange way. I don't.
Sammy, that's another good point. And we got to move to Joe's enough said so we can get out of here. But that's another good point. Is like it looked in around the 2017, 2018, around that time, the Rays were using a lot of openers, and it looked like it might start to become a trend. Like, oh, if this has success, this is what you're going to see. But you've seen throughout the years that teams that have bullpen games end up paying for it in future games. Like, yeah, you might be able to win today by throwing all of your guys for 1 inning and getting all of their best bullets. But guess what? When you need them tomorrow and they pitched last night, that hurts you. It's going to bite you down the line. I don't think you're going to be able to stop it for the playoffs. You're always going to have starters pulled early in the playoffs and get guys best bullets. That's just the way the game is played at that time of the year. But for the 162, it's shown that if you're going to rely heavily on your bullpen for the entirety of the season, those guys are going to burn out. We've seen it for the last honestly few years with the Red Sox, we've seen their bullpen burn out due to needing them to throw so many innings. So yeah, it's not like a rotation over the course of a year can take 2 bullpen games or even 1 bullpen game every 5 days. Like you got to have 5 at least bulk guys.
Last thing, and then we can move on. I think that's really cool that there's kind of a new-ish role developing in baseball. Bulk guys, it's more value for relievers, more guys, providing value to a team. I think the first real example of this in our generation was Andrew Miller. The guy was a former starter, and then he'd come in for 3 innings. And that at the time was so new. Like, holy crap, you have a weapon in the bullpen that comes in and gives you 3 innings after the starter comes out. That's insane. I think that's cool. I have like a personal bias for closers. It's like my favorite, or relievers in general. It's like my favorite part of baseball is the different personalities coming out of the bullpen. So maybe I'm a bit biased with this one, but I think that this rule would take away from that as well. And I'm just like, I see pretty much no positive at all to this rule. So that'll be it for me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously wish that naturally teams would just have 5 starters. The game was at its best when that was the case, but in
We're
the
also
end,
Red Sox fans, and we haven't had a full rotation in, I don't even remember when the last time the Red Sox had like 5 starters for most of a season or going into the season.
It's been a tough run.
We were literally this offseason saying, please field a full rotation. We are begging you. And the Red Sox are like, nope, we won't.
Yeah, could you imagine if they didn't fall ass backwards into Tanner Houck being like a legit top of the rotation guy?
He wasn't even supposed to be in the rotation to start the season. The only reason he's in there is because Giolito got hurt. People forget that. So I'm not giving the Red Sox full credit for, like, they get credit, but they don't get oh, you guys knew. Like, no. You thought you had something. You lucked into him having that perfect role. So let's go Sox.
All right, Joe, give us enough said, and then we'll get on out of here.
Well, first, Sammy did ask for my answer. I hate it. Hate the idea of a limit on starting pitchers. But my enough said, really quickly, I love Players Weekend. I'm so glad that the MLB brought it back. And I just love the customization and the freedom that they give for the players. I mean, how many Sox had Crayola style baseball bats during Friday's game? I loved my favorite was Bobby Witt Jr.'s backyard baseball legend Pablo Sanchez on his bat. Absolutely cool. He's got my vote for MVP. So just shout out to MLB for bringing this back, because I think you got to bring that fun back to MLB. As much as you're doing with the pitch clock and trying to bring everyone back, having games in different places like in Williamsport and the Field of Dreams, et cetera, I think giving the players themselves that kind of freedom, I think, is a great thing that the league did. And I hope they do more of it. I hope we see customized bats, customized cleats, gloves, all that jazz. I love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, I liked it, but I would have liked a little more. I like the crayon bats, but by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I get it. They're all friggin' crayon bats.
I don't want it to get to a point where, remember years ago, they had like customized jerseys and then they had their nicknames on the back.
I liked that.
I don't want it to get that far.
I like
I do. I want it to be like one series a year, just once a year. Very, very few and far between. You don't see this a lot. One series a year where they wear weird, like maybe you take your team's like secondary color, like Red Sox wear like all red or something crazy like that. Red pants, red top.
Oh, like a color rush thing?
Like kind of like a color rush. That's a good call. And then you get the nickname, and you can use whatever weird bat you want, whatever weird cleats you want, but it's 3 or 4 games. That would be, I think, awesome. Grow the game kind of thing. I feel like they kind of, shout out to Breaking Bad fans, they kind of did a half measure with this.
I was going to say they dipped their toe. The thing is, like with the Crayola bats, it felt to me like the league kind of just like sent them a bunch of Crayola bats because they didn't get enough guys to like do it themselves. But Ref Snyder came up to the plate with like this bright green bat. And when he was hitting, I was thinking to myself, why, like, what is the actual reason why guys can't hit with bats that look like, why can't Bobby Witt have a Pablo Sanchez bat all the time? Like, is there a reason why?
Yeah, there's rules and regulations, Gordo. You have to have the uniform, the standard Major League Baseball issued bats. Okay.
Like, I get uniforms. Like,
wouldn't you as a pitcher on the mound be distracted by seeing Pablo Sanchez?
Get used to it. Come on.
If that distracts you, you're
like
cooked
you're
in the playoffs.
weak.
No, but I don't know, Gordo. I have no clue how to answer that question. There's got to be some dorky rule that someone wrote up in like 1922 that they're still abiding by.
We got to find that rule and burn it, roast it.
But wouldn't that be cool if they like really, really went all out?
Yes,
like, all out, crazy. Like,
wait, Sammy, who did the sleeveless uniforms that one year? That was recent. Who did that? That was cool. Do that.
Didn't the
recent,
Pirates?
I don't remember.
Who did?
Oh, Derek Dietrich.
That's what I was gonna say. That guy. Who did he play for? Was it
Reds?
Reds.
Cincinnati.
Didn't Seattle do something like it for Griffey?
Seattle and Kansas City did a turn forward the clock game one time where they wore uniforms that were supposed to look like they were from the future, and they're a little wacky, but they were fun. Yeah,
for a weekend.
3 games. It's not like I'm not advocating for this 162 games a year. I'm literally saying 3 or 4 games, depending on how long your series is that week, and that's it. It's fun.
Look at the NBA. Look at the NBA, man. They those guys get to express themselves, and I know they made like LaMelo Ball like cover up a tattoo or something, but like they get to wear cool shoes every single night. It's like give me more of that. I
think LaMelo had like a brand tattooed on him, like a
he did,
like a company or something. But yeah, still.
Weird as hell. But anything else before we wrap this baby up?
Go Johan. I'm rooting for Johan for you, Gordo.
We are a pro Johan Ramirez podcast.
Prohan.
Oh, love that man. He is going to be so good one day, and I cannot wait. But till then, till that day, till that beautiful, eventful, inevitable day.
No, we'll do a podcast before then.
That's true. We will.
We're not waiting a year and a half.
We're not waiting like till infinity, till we all die to do another podcast.
Johan never pans out, and this is our last episode ever.
The last episode. I'm on strike until Johan pitches a scoreless inning in Major League Baseball again.
I'm gonna tweet that out like it's breaking news.
Oh God. Thanks for tuning in to episode 117 of Play Tessie. Before you go on with your day, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, all the podcast platforms. Rate us 5 stars too. Leave a comment if you want. You can also find us on YouTube or on the WEI page. We've got the Play Tessie playlist, and you can hit the thumbs up there. But as always, go back and subscribe in so many places. Jeez, just literally go find all the different podcast platforms and subscribe there because it helps us. And I know that you guys want to help us. Also, on the socials, at Play Tessie on both Instagram and Twitter. For Sammy, for Joe, it's Gordo here for Play Tessie, episode 117. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.